which I think is a really good question because it varies. And I think it has a little bit to do with my mood and a little bit to do with my attitude towards the day. So that track that I just showed you is my hype. I'm ready for the day. It's a good day. Like, it's going to be like, I'm ready to tackle the day. It's my like Rocky song where I'm like punch in the air type shit.
Right.
But then I also have the mornings where I wake up and I don't want to do anything, and then I'll pick a more emotional song. It'll be like there's a song that got really popular on TikTok. It's by Exotics, but it's basically like rap lyrics over this beautiful vocal of this woman just like oh like whatever. I'm not even gonna try to do it, but it's just a really good vocal sample, and then she starts singing, and it's like the most amazing singing ever, but it's all over like a rap beat, so it's like a mashup. It's kind of like when, yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. But it's really good. It's a really good mashup and remix overall, and that's another thing I gravitate towards. The other thing too is it depends on like what type of morning we're talking about. When I was talking about I put that on and play it on repeat, it's when I'm making my smoothie in the morning because I have a Google Home that I like talk to and tell it to play music. So.
Right.
But yeah, no. If as the morning progresses, when I'm working, I'll usually put on concentration music. So that's either like ambient techno or sometimes if I'm really busy and I cannot focus for the life of me, like on a Friday in the morning, I'll put on like white noise.
Okay. I
It's
mean,
it's literally like a waterfall. It's just like
that that helps you focus, though.
me, yeah. Because so I mean I'm clinically diagnosed ADD, and so like here I'll give you a really good explanation for it, and this actually relates to why people that are ADD are really calm on planes. Is because when you get on the plane, you know that sound of the AC. It's just like
Yes.
that. That's what it is. That's white noise. It's because what it does is it allows your like focus on one constant thing, and it's not being drawn away all the time. So it's as someone who's ADD, I know there's different types of ADD. There's hyperactive and then just regular deficit. But when you're my type of deficit, I like to have things going on while things are going on. So it's like it's just the same as when they have Subway Surfer on half of a TikTok and then they have a video on the other half. It's like, how does that
Yeah.
make sense? Well, I mean, anyone who's watched the videos knows how that makes sense. It's like having the TV on while you're listening to music. It sounds ridiculous, but I literally was just doing it.
Okay. So the difference ADD and ADHD are different because ADD means you need multiple things going on at all times, whereas ADHD means you can't focus on anything but one thing at one time.
I wouldn't I wouldn't categorize it specifically like that. I'm just saying that a tendency of my type of ADD is to have multiple things going on, but I don't think that characterizes that type of ADD versus ADHD. The difference
Yeah.
is so uh, the most common understand. Jesus Christ, you were like going off today. The
Me
most
get rid of it.
common ADD, most common understanding of like ADHD, where it's like squirrel, that's one type. But then there's also, or there's ADD, which is just a deficit. But then there's a hyper version, which is where they can't sit still. They're fidgety. They're very just like they're hyperactive. It's the kid that just talks a lot and is just like da 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 like full on energy, and then they give him Adderall and he calms down. That's hyperactive. That's ADHD. Whereas mine, I'm not hyperactive at all. In fact, I need Adderall to even like give a shit. Like my motivation and my will and drive is attached to a stimulant because I need it to go to a baseline. Whereas someone who's hyper is above the baseline and they need it to come down. Same drug, different effect on the brain.
Got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Makes sense as a concept.
But it's well, so it all comes from the how dopamine works with your brain. It's literally just a chemical messenger, and then the way that your body makes it. So my body doesn't make enough of it, and dopamine is what gives you attention, along with other chemical drugs mixtures, or not drugs, chemical mixtures in your brain. But basically, when you find something you like, you get that dopamine hit. And for normal people, you can kind of like trudge through things that don't give you that, And for people who have extreme untreated ADD, they cannot trudge through that. It's not something where you can just like, if it's not fun, if it's not novel, if it's not interesting, if it doesn't give you excitement, it's not happening, which a lot of things in life are not exciting, which is why it's hard for people who have ADD to live in this society, because you can't be like aloof and still make money.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me. So it's basically the in dumb man's terms, it's like if you can't get over the fact that it isn't fun, you have ADD.
That's hard too, because it's a combination of things. So it's so the ADD test to see if you have ADD is not, I don't know what most people think it is. I didn't have a clue what it was before I got tested. In fact, when I got tested, I didn't know I was tested until after, but it made sense after they explained it. But basically the test is like your working short-term memory, your motivation levels towards things, your ability to focus in the long term, and then your ability to I forget there's one other aspect to it. I'm sure there's more than one, but those are just a few. So basically, one example of the question is, I'm going to give you 3 words right now, and then at the end of this session, we'll call it an hour, I'm going to ask you what those 3 words were. That's one test. And then right after they give you those 3 words, now they're going to do another test. And that other test is, there's 5 squiggly lines, but they're all a little bit different. Now I'm going to show them to you, and you need to tell me what was different about the squiggly lines. And it's not hard. It's like all of them but one has like a 5 squiggles, we'll call it, and then one of them has 4. It's like slight things like that, where if you're able to like really pay attention and focus, which it's not like black and white either. It's not like, oh, well, you got that question wrong, you fucking have ADD. It's just a combination.
How well can you remember?
Yeah, well, that's just one aspect of it. So there's behavioral aspects to ADD. So there has to be a conversation with a licensed therapist that can extract that kind of behavioral stuff in your day-to-day life. And then on top of that, you have the focus part of it. The focus part is really not the biggest part of it, in my personal opinion. I think that the biggest struggle for people who have ADD is not focusing on things, as most would think. And this is only my experience, but I personally think that it's most difficult to live a normal life. And what I mean by that is, people who have ADD, and especially when it's untreated, are extremely impulsive and extremely easily addicted to things. They have very addictive, impulsive behavior, and there's also a lack of emotional stability. And it's not being bipolar, but there's the way that the ADD brain is set up, and I had to learn this myself. I didn't know why I would have like outbursts in school and like snap at my mom and stuff, because like I don't have an issue with my mom, but I would like yell at her, and she would be like, "What the hell?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." Yeah. But come to find out that the way that the brain was wired, I would actually become overwhelmed, and when the ADD brain is overwhelmed and there's no coping mechanism in place, then you just snap. So like, again, this is all the negatives of untreated ADD. Untreated ADD meaning you're not exercising, you're not dieting, you're not talking to any type of person, professional, and you're not taking any medications, which I do all of those things. So that's kind of how I can live a normal, and I really struggle with that word normal, but I mean normal in the sense of like, can go to a job, can hold a job, can have healthy relationships with people, can have a healthy relationships with drugs and alcohol, can be healthy in general mentally, and not have this like ups and downs, because again, it's based on your dopamine, and like your life has to be this extremely, like, there's an episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia where one of the characters, they're just continuously trying to up the adrenaline rush they get, and that's kind of how I see people who don't have like treated ADD. Like, they're just constantly doing things in their life that are very risky just to get that hit so that they can feel something and be motivated. Otherwise, it's a very like gray life, and I think that's another reason that people who have untreated ADD go to drugs and alcohol, because it can paint some color into that otherwise gray life where you don't have that like excitement. for life. It's really like weird, and I don't think it gets talked about enough, which is why I had no issue talking about it, because there's so much more to ADD than just like I can't focus and I have to take drugs. Like no,
Right. Interesting.
it's like
Would
anxiety and
you
depression too. But yeah.
would you argue that people who are like daredevils by nature have ADD?
So there's a few different factors to that, but the short answer is yes. I think a lot of them. So most people who are, so there's a name for it. It's called neurotypical and neurodivergent. So people who are neurotypical have a normal wired brain. That means that, like I said, like you can rationalize normally. You're not as impulsive. And I know a lot of people that I tell this to. They're like, I'm impulsive. Have an addictive. I'm like, dude, I'm not here to try and diagnose you. That's not what I'm here to do. Like, you don't need to relate to me and be like, I have it too. Like, good for you. We all have a little bit of ADD. Like, we're all a little bit. Which I'm gonna take a tangent here because I just thought of something that actually really made a lot of sense. ADD is not as much of a hereditary and mental illness as it is a response and coping mechanism of a natural human being living in today's world. So for example, if you're in a situation that you don't want to be in and you're not being held against your will, what are you going to do? You're going to leave, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
now you can't. Let's switch the situation. Now you can't leave. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck. You're literally held captive. So now what are you going to do? Well, you're going to tune out. You're going to disconnect.
Right.
That's just natural. Like, you're not going to stay engaged in something that's both like if you don't like it and you have no choice, you're just going to disengage and try and like find something that's going to be engaging, whether it's your phone or fidget spinner, whatever it is. Point being, ADD, or inability to focus, we'll call it, is just a response to our lack of like humanity, I guess, is the most that's kind of bleak, but because of our world and our like, because of what it requires now versus what it used to require to just live.
Right.
Like, you and I get it. Like, we are just born hustlers because we like have to be, and it's not. I mean, I wish I could take days off, and people are like, "Oh, you can." It's like, no, I don't think you get it. I can't, because I have goals, and I'm not going to meet those goals if I take those days off. I mean, I have intentional days of rest, but that's not what I mean. But think about it. I mean, my parents could have very easily lived on one income. Their parents definitely lived on one income, and not only that, but just the social place, the social, the aspect we're in socially. Like, no one before us had to deal with a pandemic that also had a political firestorm attached to it. You know, like,
Sure, yeah.
this to me is all normal. Like, when I talk about this, I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, whatever. From September 11th, 2001, all the way till now, it's just been an absolute shit show politically, economically. Like, I've never, as a millennial, known a time where it was like, everything's fine, except for when I was pre like 2011 or 2001, basically, which is crazy to me because like,
I literally never existed in a normal time, so I don't know.
right, that's my point, is like, so for me, it's totally different than somebody who never experienced that, but I digress. Point being, both of our generations are forced into this, you gotta like hustle, and also you have to be able to deal with trauma, and you also have to be able to deal with unrest and all these different uncomfortable situations. You got to do it all at the age of 13. Like, that's the kind of thing that we're putting people through, and that's the kind of thing we're dealing with, is like, we're not adults, we're just kids that grew up. Like, we're not equipping anybody with any type of like coping mechanisms, any sort of ability to, there's no community anymore. And I'm not just like ranting, I'm just like, this is why I think that people have this like mental illness, whether it be anxiety, depression, ADD, all of the above, OCD. It all comes from the lack of a community, the lack of a proper diet, and the lack of the ability to just be a human being and not have to literally wake up and work to live. That's not how it was meant to be, and our brains still know that. Our brains are prehistoric. The inside of our brain, that little inside part, the amygdala, that shit's been there for centuries, and it doesn't know any different between a tiger and our boss yelling at us on the computer. So like, we're not programmed for this shit, and I think it's starting to really show, and I've come to terms with it, but I think that a lot of people are in denial about the fact, like, oh, I take Zoloft, or I take, which I do, but I'm saying, like, take antidepressants, or I take medication just to get through the day, and it's like that's where we're at, and it's no longer not normal for somebody to say that, and that to me is insane, because just 20 years ago, if you were like, yeah, I take 4 medications, people would be like, you're clinically insane. Now when somebody tells me that, I'm like, that's pretty normal. Like, I was on 8 at one time. Like, that's a little high.
I mean, me personally, thinking about somebody who's on a lot of meds, I'm not thinking of it as normal, but I'm thinking of it as necessary if they're functional. If that makes it, like, you
Yeah,
still
yeah,
have to.
yeah, yeah. I'm saying the exact. Yeah. Okay, so we're saying the same thing. I think it's necessary to be function. I think if you're doing that and you're functional, because there's absolutely people that do that and are not functional in any way, shape, or form. But for, like, individuals such as myself who need it, not need it, but it's necessary to get through the day and it helps us to function. Like, absolutely, I'm right there with you.
I am coming to terms. Excuse me. I'm coming to terms with that idea though, as far as I think as I'm getting older, I'm just meeting more people in that realm, like who just have to take X, Y, and Z to get through the day, and I'm like, oh, this is not as because I wouldn't have known otherwise, you know.
I mean, dude, I
Um,
fought it. My wife fought it too, and, like, a lot of people fight it because it's like, I don't want to take pills every day. I don't need that. But I had a
yeah,
conversation similar to this that was just like, someone's like, "Oh no, I take that." I'm like, "Wait, but you're like 50, dude. Like, what are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, like, it's normal for people of all ages and all stages of life to be in this and to do this." And I'm like, what? And then, like, the more I started to, like, pay attention and ask around, it'd get curious. I realized, like, yeah, actually that is true. Most people don't talk about it. And then everyone was like, oh, let's talk about mental health. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. They're like, no, 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 no. I'm just trying to post on social media. Relax. I don't really want to hear about your fucking problems.
yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
We had that conversation, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. I personally am just, it is what it is where I'm at. I can't
Yeah,
do anything about it except for just exist. And my goal is to retire with enough life left and enough everything, enough life and health in me to not need those things anymore. Like, kind of like wean myself off of them, because the only things I take are for like stability in terms of just, like, um, life, and then Adderall. But, like, if I stop taking Adderall, then I don't need any sort of mood stabilization, because I don't have anything stressing me out. I don't have a job that's like, ah! And at that point, I'm retired.
like a lot of it because of the job that you work.
It's not because of that job. It's because of having. If I have to work, it sucks. Like, I'd rather wake up when I want to, and then go do what I want to do, and then, like, and I know that I don't want to hear it from anybody, because I already know this. I know you can live a life like that and have your work built into it, and that's my goal. So I'm working towards it, but I'm not at a point yet where I have a lifestyle that gives that to me, but I don't think that it's my specific job I have now. Like, any job's going to give me that feeling, because it's not my time. I've always felt that way. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I've never, not never, I'm not currently in a situation, and probably won't be, where I have the freedom to just do that, to just be like, I'm an entrepreneur now, I'm going to start selling soda machines. Like, no, dude, like, I missed that mark. That ship has sailed. I already did that.
That shit does make me laugh sometimes because it's like not make me laugh. It honestly, mad is also too strong of an emotion. It doesn't make me do shit but think. But like at the same time, when I'll see shit on whatever Instagram, YouTube, a million other places where it's like sell your vending machines with us or wholesale on Airbnb, like you know what I mean, like the typical shit. The one thing that goes through my mind, or the main thing that goes through my mind, is the fact that it's like these people. I feel like that's modern day pimping. I'm gonna just leave it there, because with those, and I'm gonna explain what I mean. What those people online are doing is selling people like you and me, but not people like you and me, like people dumber than you and me who are watching the same shit, a drink Like they selling a dream that clicking a thing and doing an exact plan is going to give you what you're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what a pimp do. Okay, look, you do exactly what I say. You're gonna look and be as sly as me. That's what you know what I mean. So it's like I'm not here for that, and I know how pimps move, so I'm not here for that. But at the same time, I look at it like a businessman. I'm like, that shit worked for you because you
Mm.
did it this way at this time with these people in this exact fashion. No matter what the fuck I do and how well I copy you, I'm not gonna be in the same time with the same people, so you can't guarantee me that. I'm not gonna pay you.
Mm. That's the struggle, and I think that you're absolutely right. But I also think that the first person to do it, they were
Genius.
onto something. They
Yeah.
crushed it. They did it, and them teaching other people, perfect. Like the Jordan Belfort method or whatever, like whatever he taught. I forget what his course was, but um, or even like Tony Robbins, like that dude. Like those people that did it first, great. But now the other 20 people that are motivational speakers now, it's like, all right, we get it. You're trying to sell us hype. This dude did that already.
It's like we have Young Thug, but we also have like YNWB Slime. Like nobody gives a fuck about YNWB
See,
Slime.
there
You
you
know what I
go.
mean?
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. That's what's up. Speaking of that, what's when's Gunna's out, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Gunna's out.
Good for him, cause he's a
Gunna's out.
rat and he done ratted. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I don't know what the situation is.
I
That's
don't follow it. I just like I personally enjoy Gunna's music. I think Gunna has a nice.
I mean, I never stopped enjoying his music. Gunna's fire, and we listen to snitches all the time that we don't know about. So why is it any different?
Yeah, see, that's true. The man, I it I think you can be all that they are, and then not do what they do. Like I think you
You can
can,
be
I think you
fun
can
and be.
rap about thugging, and not thug.
I like how you put thugging as like a job application. Like you don't have to thug.
What?
Like
You ain't got a thug, dog. You ain't got a trick, homie.
that was funny.
Thuggers don't need a thug anymore. Just go out, get a real job. No, just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. I think you can rap about doing it, and I think there is some apps like we talked about this I think last time where you listen to Kodak and you're like, oh, he does that shit. He actually does that shit.
Yeah, no, you could tell. I mean, no, you can't. Like people are. You can tell person by person. Some people are really good at faking it. Some people suck at faking it. And then there are the people that suck at faking it because they're actually doing it and they don't have to fake it. You know.
Yeah, yeah, that's the other thing too.
And then there are
But
people that are good at talking about it, like a King Von, for example. You know.
you know what's so funny is I was literally trying to think of the name, and then when you said it, the face went with the name. That's exactly who I was thinking about. So crazy to listen to that music. It's like, damn, okay, shit, dude, fuck, what, you give last name? Damn, okay. Dude, I swear to God, some of these rappers be like, it was the 10th of May. I had my gun with May. I killed him. His name was Manny Faye. Hey, I'm like, dude, why did you just criminalize? Why did you just like, you fucked up? You fucked up.
Because he was so happy that his name rhymed with A that he had to make a song about it.
See, that's the thing. You just need to make that shit up. They got. Do you see that? What I posted on Instagram? They got this fucking. I'm gonna ask you about this because you're really a rapper. What do you think about rap slash lyric help websites and apps and services, like things that help you to expand your vocabulary for rap or like help you to write bars, like those types of things? What do you think about that?
It's a good question. I have multiple opinions on it. Personally, I'll never use it, but I have, there's different people in different circumstances. So I would say if you are somebody who doesn't have an exciting life, for example, or doesn't have, I,
To be a good rapper, I feel like you actually have to have an interesting life. Like as depends on the type of music you make. If you like, for example, there are plenty of pop singers who have like regular, chill, like non-interesting lives, but they can just talk about like their 2 month relationship and like make it a pop song, and it's really cool, you know. Like rap is naturally flamboyant, you know. Like you have to kind of talk, even if it's not like braggy, it's just flamboyant. So you have to be able to talk shit a little bit about whatever. So I feel like the lyric help is like, I'm trying to find an analogy for it. It's like if Van Gogh had Midjourney. And for those watching, Midjourney is like an AI art generator. Like it'd be like if Picasso was like, I'm gonna come up with this idea by asking AI what I should do and then tweaking it a bit. Like then you can do Picasso, you know.
Okay, so, wow, that definitely opens up a few questions. So I think that what you said in the beginning really puts it into perspective for me, where it's based on the situation. So let's say you're not, like, for me, I think for me, it's a great example of somebody who can benefit from it, but not necessarily like use it as their inspiration. But like I can't say that I wouldn't use it, because I've in the past I've been like stumped, and I won't necessarily use an app or something like that, but I'll just type in like simile for this word, and then I'll find a simile that works. So I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I'm doing it on my own. I'm not like asking something to be like, hey, give me like 8 words that rhyme with piss. I would just,
I'm saying I've done the opposite. Like I've known what I wanted to say and looked up like words that rhyme. So I'll like find a word, but I won't like ask for an idea, if that makes sense. I don't think it's wrong if you like don't know the word and you want to look for something. That's fine. Like Google, like I've Googled references, all types of shit. I've been like, what football player rhymes with it? You know what I mean? Like shit.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But because I already knew what I wanted to say, but if you ask AI like, what should I make this song about, or like, or give me rap lines about a computer, I think that's cheating. I think that's like, you know, I think if you're doing that, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. You know?
So then that also kind of leads me to another question of like, where do we draw the line as artists and as a community of artists that can appreciate hard work and also can appreciate technology? Like, where do we draw the line for these types of things? Because they're only getting more and more abundant. I think the good ones will rise and the bad ones will fall, but I'm finding more and more that AI is just getting dumped into everything. Some of it makes sense, a lot of it doesn't. But I'm curious, like, where do we draw the line? Like, what is too much help? Because we've had, as a producer, we've had mastering done by AI for 3-4 years. I mean, like Ozone by Isotope has done it since like 8, I think, and they're on 10 now. So
I've been using BandLab to master my shit since I started.
See, and Lander's been around for ever, like those types. So like, I almost think it depends. This is my personal opinion, but I almost think it depends on what you're using it for. Kind of like we just talked about. Like, I think using AI to come up with lyrics for you about a subject is just kind of like not putting in any work. Whereas if you're to use it to almost fill in the gaps, then I think
if you use it like an assistant, you're okay. But if you use it like another brain, you're kind of like, well, I mean, an assistant has a brain, so that's the wrong way.
Well, I mean, like partner versus assistant. Like you're not giving AI that much like equity in the project.
Right. And if you treat it like a partner, then I feel like you're giving up like creative equity. But if you're doing like as a producer, I can imagine, you know, if you already have a layout in your head and you describe that entire layout of where every kick and 808 and where all the bass and what the melody's supposed to sound like and every little effect and synth and and you put it into this AI and then it generates fine. but if you're like, can you make a beat sound like a funk, like like he rapped it like? Then I think that's like you're asking somebody else to bounce an idea off you, except that person's gonna do the work.
I love that. I'm glad that we
It's like
talked
doing,
about that.
like being in a group. It's like being in a group project in school and being like, "Yo, what should we do?" And then they do all the work and you get the A.
That's such a good analogy. Oh, it's so good. I love that. It's just like, what are we gonna do, y'all? Oh, that's a great idea. Like, bro, you had nothing to do with it. The fuck? Okay, that's awesome. Damn, I had another question. Had to do with. Oh, speaking of typing things in, I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm gonna check it out this weekend. There's a DAW that has AI built into it, and you can just like ask it for shit, and it gives it to you, in terms of samples and like.
Photoshop has this too now, does it not?
What? I didn't know that. That's sick.
Photoshop can make shit like if you tell, I feel like I know that Photoshop can you can have an image and be like, make this to saturate the thing in the foreground and desaturate the thing in the background and airbrush all the corners.
Yeah. They definitely have that now if they didn't previously, but that's a good point as well. Like, I think that counts because you're using it as an assistant. It's almost like a sample finder. Like I think about it as a sample. Like if instead of me going into my samples and being like, kick, hard kick punch of E, like whatever. Like I'm not that good, but I'll just look. But it'd be cool to be like, I need a hard kick in the key of E, and then and then it gives you something, and then you're like softer, and it's like, all right. And then you're like, okay, but with a little bit more transient. All right.
Because that means you know what the fuck you're looking for. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's the key. Like, you have to know what you're looking for. You can't be like, oh, that's what I wanted, when it gives you something. You know?
What do you want?
Like, if you're
anything.
Right. Like, as soon as the first idea AI gives you is what you go with, you're like, not great.
Man, so for me, I think that. First off, I think you're absolutely right. I feel bad because I know that there are people that are going to be both creators and consumers of this crap. And I call it that because of what we just talked about. And when I say crap, I mean the stuff that people go on to. You could literally just go on to ChatGPT or any of these and just be like, make me a prompt for a song that's similar to this song and makes these changes. Boom, take that, throw it into that DAW I just told you about, and then it kicks it back out, and now all of a sudden you're a producer. Like,
yep.
But then people are going to listen to it and be like, this is really good. I thought you put this together, and it's like, well, yeah, they put it together, but I mean, I could do that. And then it's like, well, why don't you do that? And I'm like, well, then it's not art anymore. Then it's more like, yeah, I don't know what to call this. This is just like commercialized crap.
It's weird. Like, okay, so you remember the conversation I had with Mello about LA?
Yes.
I put it in that bracket.
What do you mean?
And it's hard. Like,
about the curtain thing. Yeah. Oh God.
It pains me to say it as a genuinely creative individual, but I have to put it there because, bro, if you find a way in this crazy fucking world to get some money, go crazy, bro. I don't care. You know, you did your thing, but I just can't do it. I won't do it. I don't care how much business it takes.
So okay, I think that there's, yeah. So okay, so there's two sides to it. Then there's the side of the artist that doesn't want to commit to that type of creativity. We'll call I'm not going to even say that type of work. We'll call it. Right. Well, formula is a better way to put it. So there's two sides of it though. So if there's, oh man, I hesitate to even say this on a recording, but like let's say that there's a company like that just needs a quick little 1-2 punch of like an ad, and then somebody that's, I mean, somewhat knowledgeable is like, I need an ad that looks like this, and then they do that shit, and it's like, okay, just like you just said, that's get your money. And then it's like, okay, well, now there's creators and consumers of genuinely non-creative art, which is like, what is that now? But again, what's it being used for? I don't think that you're going to get, like, I don't think people are going to go see an AI artist. And if they are, it's only going to be for the novelty. I don't think it'll be for genuine appreciation. So in other words, people are not going to see Hologram Tupac on tour for any other reason than it's Tupac and it's a hologram. If it was another name that had no brand,
Right.
like JX12 of the AI Nation, like this motherfucker comes out and it starts headlining Coachella, like you're not going to go spend money to go appreciate this AI because you know it's an AI. But like
That's what I'm saying. It's like, but at the same time, that might change soon.
it better not.
You know, like,
The fuck?
is the world gonna listen to you saying it?
God, people need to be more like you, Cloudy. I swear to God. You think they're gonna listen to you?
He said it better not.
Just because it's not gonna happen. I said no. I vote no. Therefore, if that's not privilege, I don't know what is.
But I'm saying, I honestly think, bro, it's judging based off of the life I've lived and how young I am and where I see like my generation headed. Like, I just had a group project in one of these classes I was in today, and the directions told us to use AI for as much of it as we could. I'm gonna preface it with that, but we did ask, like, it's my first day in this class, right? I'm late to the class. I get in there. I finally meet my group who's been working on this thing and hasn't done shit for the first 2 days of class, right?
Yep.
I'm like, okay, let's work. They're smart people, so they pick out their computers. They're like, our group is full now. Let's work. We had an hour and a half class. We finished the project. It's like a 3-week project. We finished because we used AI and we're smart and we know what to look up, and we finished. Like,
You met the requirements.
We have the groundwork for everything we're gonna submit. We just need to type up the deliverables and boom.
Hmm.
So I say that to say, anything we can expedite the 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 year olds, we will. Including enjoyment of music, including how quickly this guy blows up, including anything. Period. I don't think that's gonna backtrack. I think that's gonna continue forward into us not giving a fuck because we've done it in our day-to-day lives. I got through college in 2 years using this, so if he blew up in 6 months being a hologram, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the mentality.
So you're so right. That I just like I'm sitting here and I'm like flashing back to just like some pretty much what you're saying. Me saying that to somebody else when they were like, "There's no way that people are gonna go watch a DJ play tracks on electric turntables," and I'm like, the fuck they're not. They're gonna do it and it's gonna be huge. And then it was, and now I'm like, there'll never be a AI in whatever. And then like you're like, actually, yeah, there will be, but
it's gonna be gigantic. But it's
already happened. Right? Well, so it has already happened because as you were saying that, I realized that there's already a Vocaloid. That's what it's called, a Vocaloid. It's an Android vocalist that makes music and has a following, and all it is a synth that this other producer that has this producer that has a brand of his own made, and now he has his own brand under that, and people love this girl, but she's just a synthetic vocal software, and he gave her a face by giving her like I'm trying to think of the word, like a body, like he just like made her in 3D Blender and then just like plays her in videos while she sings, and I'm just like, it's actually really good, and I personally like it. But again, I wouldn't go pay to see that, but I already can tell you right now that if they were to start showcasing that person or that entity, we'll call it, that people would absolutely pay. It's so for anyone who is listening or watching this later, I'm talking about Deco and Yame. Deco is Deko, and Yame is Yameii. But Yame is the Vocaloid synth, whatever, and it's actually again, I think it's really good, but that's just one example of how people are using the technology to create synthetic brands of life, or synthetic artists, I guess is a good way to put it. And people love it because it's new, it's different, and it also is similar to what we've already been doing. Because AI is not different, or AI is not totally new anymore. Moving graphics are definitely not new anymore, and people making music that talks is as old as music itself, in my opinion. So like, I think that it's just a compounding, and the people that don't want to accept it won't, and the people that are going to accept it will. And I think that that opens up so much of my mind, because now I'm thinking about how splintered the world is based on technology. So the people that don't use the internet and only use flip phones are living an entirely different existence than you and I.
Yeah.
We live on the same planet in the same time. Like, what the that's mind-blowing to me. I have a really hard time with that. Just like I have a hard time with everybody having their own complex life. When you walk around and look at them, you're like, holy shit, that person has everything going on that I have going on, and I have to just imagine that.
It's kind of like, okay, this is an interesting conversation. Let's have the NPC conversation history, because I don't think this is talked about. It's talked about too much, but it's also not talked about enough in the right way, in my opinion. I feel like there's like an internet of things. I say the world of people. I feel like the world of people is not lit enough, and I'm gonna expand on that opinion.
Okay.
I feel like the need to be individuals has evaporated. And I say this because I am enrolled in a college where individualism is promoted, right? And the kids that are enrolled in this college with me seem to literally be fighting the idea of knowing what they would like to do with themselves.
What?
And this is my response. And it's been normalized, and I feel like I almost feel crazy talking in the way I am, because so many fucking people drift through life. And okay, so I like everybody has. I'm gonna go back to being nice to me. Everybody has their own time where they find their shit out, and they say, okay, I'm gonna switch around and I'm gonna start pursuing my goals.
Not everybody. Don't be that generous. Not everybody.
Okay, so you hope, right? But a lot of people never have that. We talked about this. I got lucky and it clicked early in my life. It clicked later in some people's life. I would imagine if you are in a place that promotes it, if you are amongst people who are that, if you are in a city of people that attracts that, Los Angeles, you at least have some sort of desire to break away and do you. But then I have to think, okay, because there are so many people here comparatively to other places in the world who are actually doing that, it becomes like a TV screen, this city. So the people who aren't doing it look at the people who are and just are satisfied with that. They're like, oh, he's being him. I guess I should be him. You know?
Well, they are him in their mind.
Right. And I said that kind of crudely, but like I guess what I'm getting at, bro, is like I'm tired of talking to people like talking to people at my school. Hey, bro, like, what you doing? I don't fucking know, dude. I'm like, what? You know? like that. Like that's the typical response when I ask juniors and seniors, yo, what are you here for? They're like, bro, I'll figure it out, bro.
TikTok, motherfucker. The fuck? You ain't. But that's the thing, is that so you don't have to figure it out. You can just kind of like you said, drift through life.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to, like, bro. You could easily not. I see how easy it would be to not figure that shit out, and just it's light, like it's bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
It must be so, but here's the thing: is it's not. I feel like that's the grass is greener situation only because I've. So if you've ever not, if you just like didn't, and I mean that in every sense of the word, like you just didn't. You stop. You stop being self-aware. You stop being self anything, and you just start doing whatever you feel like whenever you feel like, and just existing in your own world like that. That feels blissful and peaceful, but I'm gonna tell you right now that it's not, because your life is. I almost feel like it's giving up. I used to use this example when I would recruit people. It's giving up the ceiling and the floor. I don't know why I did it like that. It's giving up the ceiling and the floor when you awaken yourself and decide to get your shit together and like focus and do whatever. But this box is pretty comfy, man. You ain't got to do a whole lot. It's pretty cozy. But again, it's a box, and you don't get to be this person and not be in the box. Like that's the catch. Right. Like that's kind of the thing that I rationalize it with, is it's like, okay, yeah, those people are like not going through the shit, and they're not putting themselves through shit. Like that's literally what they're avoiding it at all costs. They're doing the exact opposite of what most people do, actually, which is why there's something else there. But regardless, when it comes, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, no, you finish. I'm gonna show you something.
I was just gonna say, like it for when it comes down to people that don't try, or like just don't in general, I just again rationalize it with, that's okay because they live in their box, NPC, right, if you want to call it, and we need people like that. I think that if everybody was an achiever and a go-getter, we wouldn't live in a great world. I think we would end up doing what we do already, which is just fight. Like, I think that everyone needs a place, and I think that there's a place for people who contribute absolutely nothing to society, as weird as that sounds. But I think there's a place for everybody, because without that, it goes back to without the dark there is no light, and vice versa. You can't have a functioning society without the person that's willing to do the shit job, and without the person that's willing to do the CEO job. Everybody thinks they want to do the CEO job, and no one wants to do the garbage man job. But I'm going to be honest with you, I prefer the garbage man job to the CEO job, because that garbage man is happy as shit. But that's the choice you have to make, and I don't think any choice is wrong. I think it's just a matter of where you want to see yourself. And
that ignorance isn't that mindset though?
Which part?
I'd rather do what's worse for me, because I'll be able to be happier, not worrying about what I could have been.
I don't think that a garbage man is worse than a CEO, though. I think that's the difference between me and most people, I would say, or me and
not worse as a person, but hypothetically, if you wanted to be a CEO but settled for being a garbage man because you knew your life would be happier.
I meant that. I think you can have the same life. I meant that in more of the sense of what people think is a better life. Like, I think that people have this weird concept that like being a garbage man or being this like I think that you can be both, and I think that you can be both and be happy. I think it just depends on the type of person that you are, which just goes back to what I was saying, is that I think that there's a place for everybody, and I don't think that place is a high achiever. Like, it's just not. Like, there's good and great, and then greater, and then there's best. I mean, I don't know where best is, but it exists somewhere, but no one knows what it is. But that there's just levels to this shit, and I think that when you learn your gift and you embrace that, and then you build a lifestyle around the things that make you happy, I think that is truly when you've like found your place in the world. And that's the most like broad way I can put it, but there definitely is a need for every type of person that's here, because otherwise they wouldn't be here.
Okay, I don't disagree at all with that. It's a sad thing to say, but there has to be the homeless man for there to be Bill Gates.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think about this one, and I hesitate to even say it because it makes me sick, like just even think and talk about, but like people lose their lives as a lesson, like, and that, whether it be to society or to a person, like that type of shit, like that, again, that's another a very morbid example of the types of need there are for different people. And I don't think people are put on this earth to die. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that there are different points in a person's life that they play, and I think that almost goes into the like when you believe in some sort of an afterlife of like when it's your time. Like
Right.
I've said it before. Like I don't. The reason I'm still here is because it's not my time. I don't know when my time is, but I haven't done what I came here to do. And some people's came here to do is a little shorter than others. Is what I meant by that. But overall, what I was trying to say was just it comes down to people needing to find a place in society, and I think it's okay. I think my leaving thought with this topic is that people should be okay with wherever they're at in life, socially, economically, whatever, because if they're moving in the direction of where they want to be, great. If they're not where they want to be, then move in the direction of what you want to be. But you're okay if you're not that high achiever, and you're not any better than someone that is not quite a higher of achiever as you. We're all kind of just
Right.
trying to figure this shit out, and that's
I mean,
my point.
I don't disagree. It's like it's hard for me to live in that mindset, but I find myself like flopping in and out of it, and I do find myself happier, not ignorant, but happier as a person when I'm able to live in that mindset, because I know that's the truth. It's like I can't expect everybody to just be on not even what I'm on, but just be on a certain level because they're not supposed to be. So if I'm like I'm expecting them to be something that they aren't.
Well, they can't. They've literally their life is what made them, and they didn't experience the things that made people like the reason that people become who they are is the life experience and the life they lead up to that point. So if that person did never experience a life where they had to be an achiever and they've only been given this life, like they don't know any better. But I think that the trigger for me, and this is where I kind of struggle and I flop back and forth, is like once you've been introduced to the option of being better and you put that down but still have the audacity to complain about where you're at in life, that's when I get livid. I'm like, bro, get the fuck out of my face. Because like I can't stand people like that, and I obviously have an emotional attachment to that because I've dealt with it. Because as a mentor, I've had to deal with that where people are like, I want better. I want my family to like be better. And I'm like, okay, then you have to be better. And they're like, it's just hard. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's hard. Fuck yeah, it's hard. You think
You can't ask, like, as a CEO, you can't ask anybody to do a job you couldn't do.
that part, dude? That's the thing. I don't remember what we were saying because that was so good. Like, I wish more people knew that. I wish more people felt that way, and I wish we as a society did that, because I can think every job I can think of I've ever had, except for like the first 3, I guarantee you I could do more than the boss, the CEO. Like I always could, and not even just at the CEO level. I could do almost everybody's job in between, and it's like, wait, why do I get paid the least if I can do the most? And that's
Interesting.
But yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
I'm glad I do understand that, because luckily I haven't been in that scenario. One, because I've abstained from working for anybody forever. In my first on paper job that I show up to, I don't know how to produce music, and like I am getting paid exactly what I deserve to get paid at the studio. I think
That's fair, yeah.
more or
I think that's
less,
part of
give or
it.
take by day. But
Yeah.
But to that point, or to the point that you made, I feel like my first realization of this happened driving, before I ever thought this deep, or before I ever cared to like give a fuck about what other people's purpose was. I was like, I keep missing my exit because I'm mad. Let me chill out and thank God that I have a car and I can drive, and I'm not dead yet, because I've almost been in about 3 crashes this drive.
Yep.
And let me sit down and take a breath and get on my exit, because me being mad is me being ungrateful for the fact that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So let me just shut up and do my fucking thing, because this is where my body and my soul, this is where I'm supposed to go right now. I'm supposed to go this way, and I'm getting mad and doing shit, and that's why it's not working out. Let me relax and go do what I said I was gonna do, and shit'll be okay. And then I got back on my eggs. I got there quick. Shit went okay that night, etc. But I realized in that moment that I was getting mad. Like I realized in that moment really that getting mad helps nothing, whether it be at yourself or others.
it zero for me, zero help. Sometimes fear, because I don't think it's real. Fear will help me be motivated, but anger never helps me get motivated. Anger just puts me in a place where I can't do anything but complain, and complaining is the opposite of moving forward. So if I'm angry, I'm gonna be. I can't. The best way to say it. Okay, I'm a proponent of responding, not reacting. And when you're angry, you react. When you think, you respond. Right. So like I remember crashing my car and still making it to a tennis lesson because I just had to take a breath and like. Okay, I told this person I'm gonna go do this thing. The car can move. I'm okay. If I settle for this right now, I'm gonna react. Why couldn't I make it to this thing? Okay, my neck is fine. Let's go. You know.
Definitely been there. I've been there twice that I can remember off the top of my head. I was on my way to a meeting that I said I would be at, and on the way there, I blew my engine, and I had every reason not to go. Dude, my piston literally flew out of the bottom, just and it just on the highway, all my shit. I was like, God damn it.
Okay.
So I caught an Uber and I left my car on the side of the road and I went to my meeting and then I dealt with it after. Same thing. I was just like, I told this person I would be there. I have to be there. And then another time, I was on my way to, we'll call it a teaching. I was going to someone's house to like teach them and a couple of their business partners about business, whatever, on a whiteboard. I had to do it and it was at 8 o'clock and I shit you not, at like 7:30 something, I was almost there. I was going to get there a little bit early and like hang out. Someone rear-ended me and I was like, motherfucker. I got so mad because they were like trying to like blame it on me and then they convinced the cop that it was my fault and I was like, yo, what? And then I just realized, I was like, you know what? I got to do some shit. I'm going to move on. So I did. And then I was able to, again, just take a second and be like, hold on. Let me just breathe and look around and go, I'm okay. My shit's okay.
Right.
No one, like, I got somewhere to be and we're good. Okay, let's move on. And I understand it's not like typically that easy, but it kind of is. And I think that the more you go through situations that are a little bit more, we'll call them traumatic, and you have that insight in the moment, is where you're able to practice and flex that muscle. Because it's just like anything else, like meditation or whatever, where you have to be in the situation. It's called, I think, I'm forgetting the name now, but there's a type of therapy where you have to introduce yourself to the thing that makes you scared all the time in order to work at it. And I think that the same thing goes for making decisions in those high stress situations, is once you've experienced enough of them, be it 1 or 8, the choice is yours. When you start to just be in the moment and go, okay, hold on, panicking's not going to help. Me getting upset is not going to help, whether it be frustration or anger or whatever, or like sadness. What's going to help is me making a choice to move this forward. And that goes for non-traumatic things too. It's so easy to get locked up in a debate or locked up in an argument about something that happened instead of talking about what you're going to do to fix it. And I've said this at work. I've said this in my relationship. I've said this in relationships with friends, business partners. I'm just like, okay, I understand what happened. We already established that was a problem. I apologize. We now need to move forward. What are we going to do to solve the problem now? Or what are we going to do to move this forward? Because talking about what has already happened isn't helping. But it's so easy to get locked on to like, you're this, you're that, or this. But you're not solving the problem. And I think that when you learn to, again, react, not respond, that you can make those conscious decisions, because it's people, including myself, are like, it's not that easy when you're in the moment. And it's not. It's a practice. And biting your tongue causes blood. I'm telling you. I've bit my tongue both metaphorically and physically because I don't know how to shut my mouth. I've had to stick my own fist in my mouth just to shut the fuck up because I'm like, ow!
Hey, I feel you. I'm not going to lie to you, bro.
I mean, but that's being human and recognizing that.
I still have an issue. But I know how to control myself. I'm not going to put it there. But for you, when you say, why did you bite your tongue?
Because I chose to not bite my tongue before. And I've gone through that, and life has a really funny way of putting you back into that situation where you were like, I'm not going to bite my tongue, fuck you, and then you say whatever you want to say, and then, or you do whatever you want to do, and then you have a negative consequence, and then it shows you another opportunity later, and you're like, wait a second, last time I said what I wanted to say and I did what I wanted to do, and that didn't work. Let's try the other thing that I know I'm supposed to do. And then it works, and you're like, son of a bitch. Like, it's like when being nice works, and you're like, I wanted to be an asshole. But it works.
So I don't disagree. I feel like there are situations where biting your tongue is the scared thing to do.
Oh, yeah. I meant the thing where I'm about to say some shit that A, I don't likely mean, and B, is going to do nothing but cause more pain and more sorrow. Because I'm the type of person that once I'm hurt, I'm going to hurt people. I spit blood. I'm just like, wah! But again, that's over time I've learned, like, A, that doesn't help anyone. No one's benefiting from me being angry and saying hurtful shit. So that's the point where I'm biting my tongue. But I'll stand up. Here's the other time where biting my tongue is standing up for yourself can go wrong. Like, when keeping it real goes wrong, happens in real life, and it's happened to me twice, both physically and in a career situation. Like, the one time I told someone in public, I was riding my bike, and there's two people arguing, but I didn't know there was a second person, and this person was just yelling, and I could hear them for fucking ever. And by the time I got close enough to him, I was on my bike, and I was like, yo, shut up. Not to them, just like into the ether, just like, yo, shut up, you're annoying. And the person that they were arguing with was like, what the fuck did you just say? And I was like, yo, I'm not talking to you, don't worry about it. And they were like, you are talking to me. And then they chased me down, ripped me off my bike, beat the shit out of me in broad daylight at school. Yeah, shit was nuts. I got straight up assaulted in broad daylight. And he was like, the fuck, white boy? And I was like, all right, I deserve that.
Yo, that's wild. I'm not gonna lie, that's different.
Crazy shit, right?
He has some shit going on.
Oh, for sure. But that's when I learned you stay to yourself and you keep your mouth shut. Like, that was not, I could have looked at that and been like, man, F him, boo, bro. No, dude. First off, I started it. I said, shut up. That's how it all started. If I kept my mouth shut, we would have been straight. Same thing had happened at a job. I was like, I'm going to tell this person how I really feel. And they were my boss, and they were like, what's your problem? I was like, I don't fucking like you, bro. And they were like, why? I'm like, because I listed all the reasons I didn't like them. And man, did it feel good. I won. I walked out of that room high. And then I also walked out of that company a few weeks later because they were like, yo, get the fuck out of here, you fucking psychopath. So, yeah, I learned to bite my tongue on that one.
I've learned, okay, all right, so here are my lessons in that same regard. We talked about how I like, okay, this is a good like full circle moment. So I remember talking to you on this show about holding certain people and myself to high ass standards and then having to like shoot for the stars and land on the moon type of thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I've learned that like that will happen, and I've learned how to cope with that and move along, and which is good. One of the recent experiences that kind of came full circle and taught me how I made somebody feel was interesting, because so I remember telling you about how I have like had kind of unreasonable expectations of my camera people.
Yeah.
And they were, kind of being slow, and like this wasn't out on time, this wasn't edited on time, and all these like little complaints that if I'm being honest, in reality, they pretty much were on time with everything. They were just like, the budget is, I'm getting exactly what I'm paying for. Let's put it that way, right? And
you wanted that big budget production value.
Because to me it was like, it is big budget to me at my level, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm expecting X, what I expect that to be. But I didn't like, then I had to take a step back. I'm like, wait a minute, it's still like, it's more than most people are paying, but I'm not most people. Also, there's a level higher than me that's paying more and getting like what I'm thinking. So I had to like find my middle ground. Like, I shot for here. I knew I wasn't here. I was shooting for here, thinking I was here, and I had to land right here. Oh, okay, got it.
Life will humble you, man.
It's still better than where I came from, but I was like, oh, got it, right? So one of those things, I had a session at this studio, And I've gotten really good on Pro Tools. I know how to do my shit. I know how to mix. I know how to record. I can do my job on Pro Tools. And I have a session with this girl who's a regular, right? And she said, and regularly she shows up late. And this particular evening, I had somewhere to be after the session, and it was already going to go late. It was going to go to like 1 fucking a.m.
Ugh,
right? And
yeah.
we were going to start at 8, and we expected her to show up.
It's a
She
fucking
shows
session,
up
bro.
at 9:30.
Oh,
And gets up in there, and I'm not the owner of the studio. I'm there to do my job. I can't say, hey, I'm done with this shit. I'm like, because I chose to work for somebody, so I understand that comes with having to, I'm doing a job for you. I'm not going to walk out on you. Gave you this obligation on my time. Okay. I'm not an asshole. Be like, fuck you. I said 8:30. I'm leaving.
I said 8:30.
So she gets in the room. I even suggest that, because I know she's fucking frantic and this and that. So I say, you know what? Smoke. I want you to smoke right now, because if you don't, you're gonna have to take a smoke break, and I'm gonna be mad. So smoke. Right? She smokes. We get up in the studio at 10:06. I say, all right, let's start your time at 10. Okay. Problematic. Right? You're always fucking doing this. Every time I show up, you want to start my time late. You want to take my hours from me. This shit is already too fucking expensive. I drive 3 hours to come here every fucking time.
Wait, what? But wait, hold on. You were helping her, weren't you?
By 6 minutes, but she expected me to be, let's start at 10:10. Let's start at 10. Oh, let's, you know what I mean? Like, she expected me, right. So, also, she's the type to complain about basic shit. But that's a whole other topic that just annoys me off the bat with her. But we get started in the session. Because she's already upset, I can't do anything right.
Oh god, that's so
now I play this session that I haven't touched. Everything's off beat. Right? The levels are all wrong. The ad-libs are too echoey now. And I'm fixing problems that were fine before, and when I fix them, they're now worse, etc. Right? The session ends. I have a talk with the owner of the studio, yada yada. I get out of there, cool. And I go home thinking, I just did everything I was supposed to do, and my client was still angry at me. And I texted my cameraman and apologized right away.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
That's life, man. And for you to be self-aware and socially aware enough to realize that had taken place is where you passed. Like that was your test and you passed. And I think that those happen all the time, where you're put in a situation where you kind of have to be put in the situation that you put other people in, and then feel what they felt, and then you're like, wow, I didn't like that at all. And then you end up, and I can think of more than a handful of times where I've been like, dude, I definitely, I hold them to this standard and I'm meeting it, and then I miss it, and oh man, they don't have to say anything either. Like I used to hold my wife to this insane standard of mine, and I was like, I'm doing it, you're my partner, you fucking do it, let's go. And dude, it was like so awful. And then I immediately got into a situation where she was much more capable than me. I don't remember what it was. It was probably something more like handy, because when we started dating, like, she was the handy person in the relationship. Now I fix most everything, but
yeah,
it was because of moments like that where she was like, I was like, I have to do this, and I don't know how, and she's like, I've been doing this for years, and she does it in like 2 minutes, and I'm like, wow, you could have literally just berated me that whole time, but instead you helped me and fixed it. And I'm like, I have a lot to learn. But yeah, it's moments like that make you appreciate when people give you grace, and that's why I'm more inclined to give people grace, and especially in the beginning, because it goes back to the cliche saying, like, you don't know what people are going through, but also it's you don't know how it always feels on the other side of the fence, and it's even if you never have to experience it, if someone else feels negatively because of it, we can not take full responsibility, because everybody can feel their own type of way, but we can at least take on some level of, like, I guess responsibility is the only word I can think of, to where, like, I guess I'll take your example where it could have been you could have just like leaned into it, or you could have leaned back. And I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but you have choices in those situations, and how you choose to respond, again, not react, is what's going to determine how the next time goes. Because now next time somebody is late on a deadline, you're going to think, or late on a deadline, or you're going to be like, well, are they though? Like, you start to give people more of the benefit of the doubt in situations like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it happens to me not just in music. It happens to me as a business owner. Like when I'm shipping out stuff, like when I sell something on eBay or something like that. Like as a seller, I then experience things that buyers don't experience. Perfect example is this app that I use that I was telling you about. There's giveaways where you just do nothing. You just hit follow and enter, and now you're entered in a giveaway, and people send you free shit. It's great. But then you start becoming a seller, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do a giveaway. And you're like, you're just trying to be nice because you know it's part of the culture. Come to find out, you're paying for shipping and the thing you're giving away. So just to give something away, you're already in the hole. Whatever the item you're giving away costs you, and then $4. And people are doing giveaways every 5 minutes for hours. And people are just sitting there just not buying a goddamn thing, just entering and taking the giveaways. And like, as a buyer, you're like, well, why would you make that a thing if it's that expensive? And it's like, yeah, but also, why would you sit there all day and not buy anything at that point? It's like, how many free samples are you going to take before you actually buy something? It's that kind of thing. Like, that's a whole other topic, but I think it kind of falls in line with that, where it's like, I don't know.
Interesting question. I mean, like, as many as I can, right? Like that's what a person might say if they don't. I guess it depends on how much I like the seller, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay, so yeah, this particular situation is one where you can kind of pick it apart like that, and I think that I have been in both situations as the seller and the buyer, but I've also been in both situations as a buyer who likes the person that I'm. Here's where I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think you'll agree with me, is buyers that you don't really give a shit about, or sellers that you don't give a shit about. But also, here's the part where I draw the line. If it's a new streamer, and you can instantly tell, because if they have like 2 packs of whatever, and then they've got like a few items, and they're just like really just trying, and you're sitting there taking giveaways from them, I kind of frown upon that, because if you're going to go do giveaways, there are streamers that have 150 plus people in there all day. You can go sit in their streams and do it. It's a really big like conversation topic in the industry right now, because there's people that literally go into every stream and just go, run a giveaway, give me free shit. And it's like, yo, these are people that are trying to. That would be like walking into a store, name a store, and just being like, hey, I want free shit. And you're like, why would I give you free? Are you going to buy something? No. Well, then why would I give you free shit? Because someone said you would. What? And I feel like that's super reflective of the life that we're in. It's like, do something for me. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? Nothing. Fuck you. What?
Yeah, that's yeah.
But that's like a small niche. I don't want to paint people in that image, because there's a lot of people that are like, there are people like me where I if I win a giveaway and it's a giveaway of any substantialness, and I can, obviously that's the other part of it, is like I have the income, I'll tip them, and that money goes straight into their pocket. So it's like okay, well, at least I'm helping them with the shipping. Like, I'll even tell sellers if I win a giveaway, I'll be like, keep that shit, give it away to somebody else. Like, don't send it to me. Like, cancel the order. Because, like, again, I've been in a situation where people have literally only come into my stream as a seller to take free and leave. And I'm like, now I don't do giveaways anymore because of that reason. But I felt kind of inclined to do it, but now I don't do it because I'm like, you're not going to buy anything anyway. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway.
I mean, to me, like, think I've probably taken more from Ralph's than I bought. Just gonna put that out there.
Okay, I get where you're coming from with that, but that kind of leads into my point of bigger corporations versus the mom and pop.
Like, so, but
when my friend gave me a free haircut, I was shocked. Those are like the two.
That's a really good
you know,
example. I think. Well, so we can bring this back to music. I think that if your friend, like, if there's a big ass plugin company that's charging $800 for a plugin that doesn't do like that doesn't fucking make the track for you at that point, then I think that maybe I hesitate to say this, but I think that there are situations where it makes sense to borrow a license, however you get that license kind of situation. But then I think that if there's like a somebody who is actually like it's their income and they're like a small time developer and you can like it says it right on the website but you still decide to crack their shit anyway, it's like, come on, dude, the app was $10, you broke motherfucker. Like, pay that man. Like, there's an app I use on my computer that I absolutely could have stolen, and it was on the website where I've been, or not the website, it was on a website for free. But it was like,
Right.
support me here. I was like, fuck yeah, this is a dope ass app. And I ended up following him on Instagram, and like now we chat. Like that's the difference. Is I think that when you are gonna know who you're taking from, and that again goes back to awareness. Like if you're an aware person, you can kind of read the room when it comes to those types of things. And I don't think that NPCs are reading the room. And I think that those are the ignorance is bliss people. But I'll tell you right now that the people that don't read the room get less in life. Absolutely get less in life. That's why I go back to the box. Is like people are not going to give you free shit as much. You may be taking it, but guess what? You're going to get crap because people aren't giving away the shit that they like, okay? They're giving it to the customers that pay with money. And I can tell you right now, I've gotten so much more from being a paying customer than being somebody who asks for free shit. Like that's the kind of
Yeah.
But that's not how everybody thinks. It's unfortunate because we live in a world where you can expect everything for free. Like if I post something on my Instagram, this is a great example, and then I kind of got to wrap it up. If I post something on my Instagram and it's a paid, or if it's any type of plugin, period, first question I always get, is it free? Which is a valid question. I'm not devaluing that question, but that's almost the only question I ever get about a service, product, or an app or anything like that I'm sharing. People are like, what's the catch? And I'm like, hold up. Well, first off, when it's free, you want to know what the catch is, but when it's not free, you think it's not worth it? Which is it? Like, I'm so confused. Like, you think that you're going to get the best of the best and you're not going to pay for it? Like, who's paying for that?
That's the NPC energy though. That's like not being able to read the room, not knowing because they haven't done any research. They don't know what the fuck the shit is. Your videos for the first time they've ever seen it. They don't know any of the competitors they could get for a lower or higher price. They don't know where the free trial is. They know what you showed them, and that's all they care about. And that's the only possible option in the world. And if your option isn't good, then you're not good, and fuck you. Like, okay, bro. Whatever.
I don't need to say anything else. I'm just gonna clip that. Fuck it, we're done. I'm out of here, bro. No, but for real though, I think that's a good place to stop.
I do gotta go too.